So good morning, everyone. Hey, Nikki, we've already done a full half hour of exercise this morning, but nice, gentle, flowing movement to increase our range of motion because we want to die healthy. That's our kind of our motto, you know.
What kind of exercises did you do?
Myofascial stretch and strength.
Oh,
yeah. Hey, I want to introduce you this young lady. Her name is Nikki. Nikki Sage started her career with HomeInstead back in October of 2015. She coordinates a Be a Santa to a Senior service program. We kind of missed out on that this year, but I'm hoping you're going to address that today. The success of that event launched her journey in enhancing the lives of older adults as she transitioned into a full-time community outreach coordinator. Fast forward 5 years, Nikki has developed many partnerships, which includes, by the way, the Village Collective, organized with Canada, organized various community events and helped contribute to the success of HomeInstead services and education as a trusted resource in the community. She is also co-host of the TV show Aging in Action on Eastlink, which is a talk show that discusses important issues in Northern Ontario. You have to tell us how we access that, Nikki. Nikki wears another professional hat in her community as peer support coordinator for the Brain Injury Association of Sudbury and District. Her educational background is in theater arts, and that has allowed her to take her creativity and dynamic personality with her in her work pursuits, which gives her a unique advantage over colleagues. I can believe that. Nikki was winner of Business Professional Women's Entrepreneur Award in 2019 and was recognized for her influences in innovation and creativity. She is married to her best friend, Brian, and lives with her 2 fur babies, Minnie and Jasmine. In her spare time, Nikki enjoys singing and songwriting. In the future, Nikki hopes to continue to enhance the lives of those in Northern Ontario as she helps the community age in place. So please welcome Nikki Sage.
thank you.
Yay.
Thank you all so much.
Welcome, Nikki.
Thank you all so much again for your time today. If anybody has any questions, feel free to interrupt me if you want, or I think you can use the raise a hand feature in Zoom, or maybe Harriet, you want to leave questions to the end. I'll leave that up to you.
No, I think that we have some, we're pretty engaged community, and it would be nice though if everybody tried to use that emoji with your hand raised. It's easier for me to identify and then help Nikki as she makes her presentation. Okay.
Perfect. No question is a silly question either. I always like to say that. I love hearing from individuals in our community when it comes to different types of topics, especially around aging. And so today I'm here to talk about HomeInstead, but I also want to make sure I talk on some of our community projects that we do and some of our free resources as well, because that is so important. I talked a little bit about this before we got started, and thank you so much for reading my bio to everyone. As you guys already know, and I was talking about my dog earlier, I absolutely love animals. Animals are a huge passion of mine in addition to music. And I love country music. I play guitar and I like to songwrite. So that's a little bit more about me in a kind of a personal capacity, because at HomeInstead, we do believe to us it's personal. So I always like to share kind of some interesting facts about myself as I'm your presenter today. And I'm an open book. So my official title too with HomeInstead is Community Outreach Coordinator, which basically means I get to meet fantastic people like yourself, offer presentations, education with our healthcare workers, and I get to do some marketing and community events as well. So here's a quick agenda I threw on that I'm gonna, the 3 areas of focus that I'm gonna talk about today. Of course, HomeInstead. I'll briefly explain what services we offer in case you didn't know, that might be beneficial for you or another loved one, or just some good information to have in your back pocket if you're ever looking at needing home care services. I know Harriet had mentioned Aging in Action. And I do want to touch on that, where you can watch the shows and how to access that information. And then I really, really want to focus on something that's a passion of mine, is free caregiver supports. We see all the time family caregivers struggling to try to care for an aging loved one and navigating our healthcare system. And with some of our community partners, some of the committees we sit on, the Village Project is one of many committees. We're hoping to help change, a little bit of our healthcare system and make it more accessible and make it easier to navigate. And so we have some great resources in-house, and then some great partnerships that we're starting to form in our community. So we're really excited to see where this is all going. All right, I keep referring to aging in place. And some people have probably heard this term before, maybe you haven't. But aging in place really means having the social supports and services you need to be able to age safely and comfortably wherever you call home. So home can be many different places. A lot of people think aging in place means just in your house, and that's not the case. Aging in place means aging where you call home. And there's many housing options for older adults and seniors out there. And I'm sure you guys are aware of most of these. Of course, most of us, 90% actually, want to age at home. That's our end goal. That's where we want to be, regardless of any diagnosis. We also can live with family. There's lots of, if you have family, kids, daughters, aunts, uncles, whoever, that you're close to, that doesn't mind kind of co-housing together. We're seeing a lot of intergenerational co-housing happen as well. We're seeing something called granny flats happening. So living with family is an option. And then of course there's retirement, assisted living, and nursing homes and long-term care homes as well. So aging in place is at any of these places. It's wherever you feel comfortable based off your needs and where you want to age. Home care is really beneficial when it comes to the care model, because home care can fit anywhere along this care continuum, from us being independent and not needing much support, all the way to end of life care and palliative care and needing full 24-hour support. So home care can really be customized based off your unique care plan and what you're looking for when it comes to service. Some of our clients, go ahead.
I didn't use my emoji. Wait a minute.
You follow your own rules.
Yeah. Oops, that's the wrong one, I think. Yeah. I wanted just to stop at that independence for a moment, just to ask, does that mean, can you sort of make it more specific? Do you offer, what kind of care would you give to somebody who is an independent living, pretty active or whatever?
Yeah, that's a great question. So sometimes we honestly come in for companionship, to do meals, cleaning, a lot of cleaning. Sometimes as we get a little bit older, or if we get in a car accident, for example, and I'm going to touch on that a little bit later, you start to need some assistance, and it might be temporary, right? As you're in the recovery process, or it could be long-term. So some of our clients, reach out to us when they start to notice they're having, some difficulties with their daily activities, which can be anything from taking care of the household, to shopping, to errands, to transportation, to even personal care, showering, bathing, grooming. So independence is where you're still living on your own, but you start to notice that you need some assistance. And then a lot of times the first person we go to is our family, right? To seek support and have our daughter come over, for example, or our son come over and help us in between. All the way to you're in the middle of, needing people to come on a regular basis, but also still being able to stay by yourself, to, entering into a facility like a retirement home or even a long-term care home. And then of course, hospice and palliative care is end of life care, which is usually within the last 6 months of life.
So Nikki, then there's a big difference between need and want. Like, I know I don't want to vacuum anymore. You know what I mean? I don't want to dust. Like, it gets to be a chore. It's interfering with all my fun time.
I agree with you. I feel the same. I don't want to clean either. We have come in for cleaning services before. Literally, people are just busy. Like, they're trying to raise kids. They're working a full-time job, and they hire us to come in and clean their home. I
So,
mean, we have some really great
yeah.
cleaners, right? Like sometimes it just comes down to that.
So
But
so there's not a, it's not a needs assessment then, or do you do that? Is
yeah,
that,
we do. Yeah. Most of our clients, you know, don't just get cleaning services. They get cleaning services, meal prep services, companionship, and personal care. Like they need the whole scope of service because we're usually not coming in once a week. We're coming in multiple times a week to service somebody because they're at that needs level, right?
okay.
So that's most of our clients. We have had some people reach out for cleaning services, but we do have a 10-hour a week minimum. And that is something that's come into play in the last couple of years because we want to be able to staff consistently with continuity of care. So if you need 10 hours or less, we usually try to navigate you to another resource or service that might be able to come in and help you. But if your needs or your loved one's needs are, you know, more in depth and they need that at least 10 hours a week or more, then that's usually when we're a better fit, right? It's all about finding that right resource for you. And nobody wants 10 different people coming into their home every day, right? We need that continuity of care, especially with the pandemic that's happening. So it's really important that we focus on that piece and making sure that the caregiver we send into your home or into your loved one's home is the right fit. Because sometimes we'll send a caregiver in and they're an amazing worker and a lot of their clients like them, but the mom just isn't getting along with them because the personalities just don't mesh, right? And that happens. So then it's kind of some trial and error and finding the right person that can come into the home to get your mom to eat, right? To get your mom or dad out of bed and have a shower. Sometimes that's a struggle for the family caregivers. Mom just won't have a shower. She's just refusing. She keeps doing refusal, right? Maybe there's a dementia diagnosis in there as well. And the refusal is a dementia related behavior, right? So then it's like, how do I do this? Well, we would send a caregiver in that is trained on Alzheimer's and other dementias and knows some tactics when it comes to the refusal behavior and to get your mom to shower and get your mom to eat. Because a lot of times we get called in from the daughter really concerned about her mom because she's not eating and she's starting to withdraw and they're starting to notice her lose weight and get frail. And it's because, you know, her husband passed away, for example, and she's lonely. So we bring a caregiver into the home that she starts to build that relationship with and can play cards and have tea and do grocery shopping and, you know, clean the house a little bit, but they're cleaning the house together and they're meal prepping together and they're playing cards and playing games together because she's still pretty independent, but she's missing that companionship piece too. So it's really hard to say, okay, this is this service, this is this service, because everybody's so different. And everybody gets their own care plan. Everybody gets their own care consult, which is free of charge as we build that care plan and we see the needs. And then the needs are always being assessed. I think I see something in the chat too.
Yeah,
With quality assurance.
Yeah, the question was about fees for service.
Yep,
Nikki.
there is fees for service, and I'm going to touch on that a little bit later too, because we provide home care services through quite a few different ways. So when I come to that slide, I'll just kind of go over it really quick. We're LIN providers, so the Local Health Integration Network, which is support basically through the government, right? So there's no cost. We come through the LIN, through their system. We're also WSIB providers. We're veteran service providers as well. We're attendant care service providers, so occupational therapists, physiotherapists. We help people who've been injured in a car accident or motor vehicle accident, and we help them through their recovery process. WSIB is obviously if they get injured at work, we help them with whatever care is needed based off WSIB. The LINs, the same thing. A lot of LIN services are personal care, showering, bathing, grooming, and respite. And then of course, there's also private. So some people who use our services actually have 2 or 3 different pockets, if you want to say. So they get some LIN hours, then they hire us privately for some hours. And then maybe we're also coming in under veterans and they get some hours through Veteran Affairs. So then in a perfect world, they're getting the same primary and secondary caregiver, but there's different pockets of, if you want to say, services that they're getting to build into their one big care plan. And that's when it works the best, right? When it's one organization that's organizing all of those.
Yeah, and that's what you do then, eh, Nikki, with the homestead. Would you help people navigate that?
Yeah, our inquiry specialist, Cassandra, is always, she takes so many inquiries a day because a lot of people call us. Sometimes we've been mistaken for the LIN. I mean, people just don't know, and you don't know what you don't know, right? You don't know what questions to ask. So Cassandra all the time is referring to other resources in the community. 211 is a big resource that we refer to. I'm really excited to see the seniors guide that the Village Project's working on, because I think that's going to be a really great resource tool that we can give Cassandra and our social service worker student as well, to be able to refer to families. Because when someone calls, they're calling for help, they're calling for resources. Now, it's great to help them right away. We'll set them up with care. But one of our main goals and mission at HomeInstead is to help people be proactive when it comes to needing home care. And when you're in that independent stage and you start to notice that you need support, or your loved one starts to notice that you need support, that's when you need to be making the calls. That's when you need to be doing your research. That's when you need to start preparing yourself. Not when your loved one has a fall, she's in the hospital, and you're finding out she's being discharged in 2 hours. And you're waiting on the LIN assessment to happen, and you don't know what you're going to do, and you got to go back to work. Then you're not making good choices, right? Then you're panicking. You're picking the first thing that pops up, and you need to make sure you're picking the right care, picking the right options for your loved one. So we deal a lot with that. Oh my gosh, being discharged, how early can you start up services? And we're trying to walk them through that process a little bit. So by, getting opportunities like this to present on HomeInstead, it's an absolute pleasure, because I'm hoping to provide a little bit of education and to get people thinking more about their aging in place plan and what that means and what that looks like, and start your research. My question to you: sounds expensive. And you know what? When you get private home care services, it can be expensive for some people because you're paying for hourly services for a healthcare worker. That's why it's really important that you do your research and see what's available, what the cost point is, and to see what you can budget, right? So you're not wrong in that, and I'm fully transparent in that. And services all depend kind of a little bit about what you're looking for as we build the care plan. So my best recommendation for you when you're looking for costs of services is to give our office a call and talk with Cassandra, our inquiry specialist. Let us know what's going on to see if we can help you. And then we can provide a better quote that you can kind of review with family and see if that's something you want to move forward with. I like to stress at HomeInstead, we don't have contracts. So if somebody signs up and wants to use our service, there's a service agreement that's in place, of course. But if they ever need to cancel, because we don't know what's going to happen 2 days from now, right? Then you can always cancel services and move on, or look at other options if you want to as well. So I always want to make sure I'm stressing that you're not locked into anything. We're dealing with people.
So
Every day is a little different. So every day is different. Yeah.
Did I understand you, Nikki, to say that, let's just say somebody called in and wants to use your service, they may be drawing from more than one. It could be the LIN, it could be a private, it could be. Okay.
A lot of times, yeah, we ask them, who do you have coming in your home right now? Do you have, care coordinators coming into your home? Do you have a nurse coming in to do an assessment? We have a veteran questions too, right? Is your loved one a veteran? Are you a veteran? Do you qualify for services? Because sometimes they do and they don't know, right? There's actually a lot of different areas of opportunity. Most of our clients, though, and families are private. They do choose to pay for services out of pocket because they're looking for a particular type of care, and that's their option, right? Our healthcare system is not perfect. We all know that, but we try to do our best, first starting with education and awareness. And I think, when you leave here today, I hope you also have some really great resources and tools that you can kind of research, take advantage of now, whether you're a client of ours or not in the future, because that is another one of our goals at the end of the day. So I'm going to touch on that a little bit later on. So I want to just exit out of this, but if I get another question in the chat, I hope I see it, but monitor.
I'll watch for it, Nikki.
Thank you. I can't multitask. Now you're asking too much. Okay. I always like to throw our guiding principles on here. And when we do orientation training with our HomeInstead caregivers, and we call them home care heroes as well, these are some of the resources and information we go over with them with our guiding principles of how we want to provide care. And I like to touch on them because I use these every day when I'm providing presentations, when I'm sharing education, when I'm talking with other service providers and organizations in our community. I mean, building trust is number one. You need to make sure you trust your organization. I want to build trust with everybody by providing resources, information, tools, starting conversations. I mean, that's where we see change, right? As well as education. And I love being a part of all the education programs that HomeInstead offers, our healthcare workers, and even our community. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit later too. We have some great free resources for our community and some education for our community too. And then taking the lead. Well, we have some really innovative programs, really innovative partnerships. I'm going to touch on that when I get to alzheimerfamilies.ca website, and then sharing your heart and being, who you are, bringing your personality into it. As you guys know, my education's kind of unique, theater arts and recording engineering, but it actually gives me a uniqueness to my role in, communicating with the public, with theater arts, and having that creativity and working with the organization to try to make more solutions when it, I think I have another question, when it comes to resources and information. Do you have a strong complement of workers, or do you have a shortage? Are the workers qualified as personal support workers? Another really great question. Yeah, we do have personal support workers. We have home helpers as well. We have a whole range. We have social workers that join. We have nursing students. We do have quite a few workers, but of course, we're always looking for more. I mean, the more workers we're able to onboard and train, the more clients and families that we can help. So it's kind of that balance, right? And every day is a little bit different, but we do have, personal support workers, nursing students, home care helpers, all different kinds of backgrounds and education. And then we also have training programs as well that we offer. So another really great question, Pauline. Oops. This is what I was touching on. Our mission at HomeInstead is to enhance the lives of not only aging adults, but those in our community and their families so they can age in place. I mentioned we're LIN providers, we're veteran service providers, we're attendant care service providers as well. And there's just a link to our website too, if you ever want to check us out. How we provide care, I want to touch on this before I show the next slide, which kind of explains all the services that we offer, which I'm sure some of you may be wondering about. Person-centered and relationship-based care approaches are number one. Every one of our clients has their own care plan. They have their own care consultation that's unique to them. So we can build a care plan that's beneficial for them and or their loved one. And it's really important that not everybody's put in the same box. Just because two people need personal support worker services doesn't mean they're the exact same, right? Some of them prefer showering over bathing. It comes down to time. What time does your mom get up in the morning? If your mom gets up at 8 in the morning, why would we come at 11? Right? That's not going to work, right? She normally gets up at 8. That's her routine. And everybody has their own routine. And when our routine gets kind of out of whack, that's when we can start to see, some refusal of services as well. So every one of our clients has their own care plan, has their own quality assurance visits to follow up with it so we can update it. And every caregiver, we work on matching with the perfect every client we work on matching with the perfect caregiver or caregivers, depending on how many hours they have. So that continuity of care piece is really important. We have a really great focus on Alzheimer's and other dementia training. We see more and more inquiries for loved ones looking for care because their loved one has that dementia diagnosis. And if any of you online here have had a loved one with a diagnosis or have one, we know it can be really challenging to be that family caregiver and to navigate and get support. So we have really great services based off of that I'm excited to touch on. And then a general resource for family caregivers. Regardless of their loved one, if they have a particular diagnosis, we have a great database of resources for them and professional section on there as well for other healthcare professionals too, because we believe education is power, and that's a big piece on how we provide care as well. So here's our services. I kind of broke them down a little bit to try to make it simple. Essentially, we help with all the activities of daily living and the instrumental activities of daily living. So that's everything you and I do every day. I'm sure all of you got up this morning, you had a shower, a bath, you brushed your hair, you got yourself ready, you brushed your teeth, you had breakfast, you came to your exercise class. We do all of those services when it comes to companionship, to personal care, to transitional care, to hospice care, wherever somebody needs it. And so we service anyone 18 years and older so they can age in place. We're not just older adults. Now we do have, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Nikki, there's a question. Supreet, you go
Hi.
ahead.
Hi, Nikki. Just a question. Do your clients need to sign permission for you to come into the home?
For you to come into the home?
For the caregivers to come in? Do you have to get
Oh,
permission?
yeah. We go over all of that with our service agreement, our care plan, and then there's an addendum in there as well, right? So because some of our clients, you know, we can knock right on the door and walk into the home, right? That's already organized. Where others, there might be a lockbox and we have to discuss that. So we go over all of that during the care consultation and the
And if you get
paperwork.
someone who's resistant, I'm a caregiver for someone out of town who lives on her own, and we haven't got the diagnosis yet, but we're very close to getting it.
It's hard to get one, right?
Oh my gosh, she's very resistant, and we're just afraid there's going to be a crisis. But unless we get her permission to get caregivers in, she will not let them in.
Does she live with anyone else or does she live
No.
alone?
She's alone, 88 years old.
Does she have, and she has families like,
I'm it, and I'm 3 hours away.
okay. Oh, you're
Yeah.
3 hours away. Because sometimes we see refusal when it comes to anybody wanting care, regardless of the diagnosis. So sometimes a real easy solution is they're not here for you, mom. They're here for me.
Yeah. except
Right?
I'm not there. Yeah.
And actually that works quite often because then they're like, oh, okay, because it's a pride factor, right? They don't want to accept a stranger into their home,
Mhm.
to come into their private life and their personal life. I don't know about you, but I'm not excited to have somebody help me shower and
No.
feed me. And what gives you the right to come into my home, right? These are all real emotions.
Yeah,
And
she doesn't think
sometimes-
she needs help. She doesn't think she needs help.
Yeah, that happens too.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
happens.
we're
too.
at a tough stage, so just wondering, you need permission. That's what we found when we looked around at other services.
There must be safeguards in place when it comes to family members too, right? Some of our clients on file, we're dealing with the daughter or the son and their contact information's on there for any scheduling changes, any issues that we run into where we contact them and make sure that they're in the loop as well. I mean, everybody's different, right? That's what we talk about at the care plan. I mean, what are your preferences? If this type of situation happens, how do you guys want us to react, right? Because it does come down to that piece, right? And decision making, right? I know I hear about this all the time. I was at a conference where they were talking about, you know, when you have the right to make decisions and when you don't have the right to make decisions in that thin line, right? And trying to navigate that piece. And that's a challenge and it's unique to each family. And that kind of sounds a little bit about what's going on with you too, right? As you don't have that diagnosis yet. So she still can make her own decisions, right? And
Yep.
she's choosing to say she doesn't want anybody to come into the home. And so you're navigating that.
Right.
So maybe we
Oh,
can have
fun.
more of a conversation offline to see if, I mean, I'll take a look at helpforalzheimerfamilies.ca. There's an app you can download. There's a book and then there's some resources and refusal is one of them on there. Maybe you could take a look and see if there's anything on there that might give you some tips and tricks to get a caregiver into that home, to at least try, right? Because it sounds like she's not even giving them a chance to try to build that relationship.
No, and unfortunately, if you get her in an agreeable place one day, the next day she's forgotten. So, you know, that she was agreeable the day before. So we're just at that stage. Once we get a diagnosis, then I think things will be better to get help in. But anyhow.
Well, it will, because then she'll qualify
Yeah.
for more, right? Because once you have that, it's such a long process to get that diagnosis because they're trying to rule out anything else before they, it's a
Exactly.
dementia, it's a type of dementia, right?
Yeah.
And I hear about that a lot. And the frustration that family givers feel. I mean, how do I even get a diagnosis? And that's on our website as well that I'm going to show. I have another great question from Patty, who's talking about veteran affairs. So if you have veteran affairs already coming in, you should have a care coordinator that you're dealing with, Patty, right? My first recommendation would be to call her and say she needs more services, what home care providers are approved, and she will give you a list of home care providers that are approved that you can call and reach out to, and we'll be one of them. If that doesn't work, reach out to Cassandra and give her a call and we'll see if we can help and intervene.
Thank you.
Sometimes they don't like that, right? Because they don't want us, how do you put it, picking for services, right? So my first course of action would be that care coordinator that you're dealing with, or the case manager, sorry, you're dealing with at Veteran Affairs first to get that list of approved providers that they will pay for services to get her into the home.
Okay, I just want to add a little information on that for people like Susan. I really appreciated your input there, Susan, because I'm in a situation of refusal as well. But I did convince my mom to allow me to speak to her care coordinator at Veterans Affairs, and she has to give permission for me to talk on her behalf. So so just be aware of that, that you know, sometimes it's just a quick put them on the phone and they say yes, and then you're good to go. But there's always they always look after the client first, that's for sure. But thank you, I appreciate that.
No, and thanks for bringing that up. I know that happened with my husband and his mom, where he had to just put her on the phone to get her. She just had to verbally say, yeah, I give him consent to talk to you. And then they were able to talk to you. I mean, depends on the situation, but yeah, I mean, there's so many family dynamics that you don't even think about, right? Everybody's so unique and different. The first thing is just give us a call and we can see how we can help, see how we can navigate, see who we can refer you to. And then of course, we're always going to follow up with you too, right? Sometimes you get so busy with so many other things. So sometimes having that call to follow up and be like, oh yeah, that's what I was working on too, has helped some of our families as well as they're trying to navigate that piece. So all really great questions. I can tell a lot of you have already thought about aging in place when it comes to yourself or your loved one, which is nice, because sometimes when I'm presenting, people just really haven't even thought about this because they're like, oh, I'm healthy. I don't need care. Oh, my mom's healthy. She doesn't need care, right? We all don't know what might happen. And a lot of times people that need services fall and they break a hip, for example, and then boom, their whole life changes. And now they need to start looking somewhere for services. So research, gather as much information as you can with your options in your local community, and then you'll have everything prepared ahead of time. So you're making that proactive decision and not reactive decision.
Can I add one more thing? Is also check the banking and financial side too, because to be prepared in that area, I went to a banking consultant and they said, yes, you need to have all these things in place. So if your mother has a visa and you want to be on the visa with her or whatever, if you can get her permission for when it comes to the financial side, when they pass, that kind of thing. So there's lots of good information on the banking side of things too in your plan.
Have you ever had, I don't know how much she'd be able to help, but I know she was on an episode coming up on aging in action. Hello, Darlene. Harriet,
Yes.
I don't know if you remember her. I would have her come do a talk too, because
She has been on, she's been on.
Okay.
Yeah.
She's got a really great resource.
Yeah, she is an
Very
excellent
unique.
resource. Yeah.
Very unique. And we actually met up. And so now we're referring each other and collaborating more, which is all
that's
part
good.
of it, right? Because I was like, this is such a great service for our community that people can be accessing. So I'm glad she's presented already, because she'd be a great resource to help families with that process too, and sitting down with you and your loved one as you're making that nice big plan. And then everything's in that book for you to be able to access and move forward.
She's one of our, we have 46 businesses, and she's one of our Earth in a Nest businesses, age-friendly businesses.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes. I remember that email.
The idea is to create that client, our group can draw from those clients, knowing that they are working towards age-friendly or are already there. We don't know, well, we do know a little bit about it, but yeah.
The age-friendly community.
But I want to just say that everything you've shown so far is really an excellent resource. Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, we want people, like I keep saying this over and over again. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but education's power. Be proactive, right? So I'm always excited to talk about the community resources, because that's the big role that I get to play in the organization in HomeInstead. Caregiverstress.com, write that down if you can. There is caregiving resources, there's expert blogs, there's educational videos on tons of different topics, some HomeInstead topics, the 40-70 rule. So by the time you're 40 and your parents are 70, these are the conversations you should have had. And these are the conversations that should be happening. There's another one called Let's Talk About Driving. I don't know if you've ever had an aging loved one where you start to notice some dents and bruises, or their driving abilities are starting to change. You need to talk about that with them. There's housing option conversations on there. I mean, when is it time to move to a retirement home, long-term care home? I mean, so many different topics about having the talk. Their parents had the talk with us when we were teenagers and younger. Now we need to have the talk with them, right? And how to have that piece. And then just some support on there for family caregivers as well, because we're big advocates and big believers in supporting family caregivers. Because we know,
That's really important because I think, we are going to get there one day.
well, we're all aging, right? Another great topic that you guys might want to have on here too, that I'm thinking of, is ageism.
We
And I
have
think-
had.
Have you? Because we did a topic on that too, and it just blew my mind away about how as a society we look at aging and how it's such a negative thing when it should be the exact opposite, right? And we should take pride in that. And ageism, we're all ageist, and how do you become less ageist, right? And so I always thought that topic was really great. And so I try to share information on that too. And I hope to see some of that on here as well. That might be nice for HomeInstead too. But caregiverstrust.com, check it out if you're a family caregiver, refer it to a family caregiver. Help for Alzheimer families.ca.com. This is specific for family caregivers that have a loved one that has a dementia diagnosis, or maybe they think needs a dementia diagnosis. So under the Get Help, there's, Alzheimer's services that you can look through for your local HomeInstead office. There's a grant program that you can apply for in partnership with Hilarity for Charity and HomeInstead. So Hilarity for Charity is an organization from Seth Rogen, the actor, and his wife. And so they partnered with HomeInstead for this grant program that you can apply for, where you could potentially get 2 different types of grants to support your loved one aging at home with that dementia diagnosis, because there's a lack of resources, or you really need some respite services. So check that out. There's a learning tab. So on there, there's actually web-based training that you can take about what is Alzheimer's and other dementias. What are the stages? What are the behavioral symptoms? What are some resources? And then, like I said, refusal, wandering. They've got a lot of great resources on there. Community voices, if you want to hear from others. And then if you want to connect, there's an app you can download as well for free. Never Ending Database. Missing Seniors Network app is on there as well for you to check out. Alert Your Network in case you have a loved one that wanders. And then the Alzheimer's and Other Dementia Daily Companion app. Going over some quick tips and resources for behaviors and situations, getting emotional support, resource and kits. And it's like an app for you to have daily, again, free, for you to be able to download on helpforalzheimerfamilies.ca. I also love our Ready to Care website. On here is kind of our mission to give back to our communities and make a positive influence. So on here is some information on a Pen Pals program. And so this is Canada wide, throughout the United States wide. But, if you want to be a pen pal to a senior in your community and write a letter, there's information on how to do that. And it will be delivered to a senior. There's kindness ideas if you want to just be nice to an older adult. And so they give you some cool ideas to help a neighbor and just, pay it forward, I guess, if you want to say. There's also the HomeInstead Foundation for Canada. So they just have a section on there if you want to make a donation. And the HomeInstead Foundation has a few different campaigns that they offer for organizations that do service older adults and seniors. So the last one they had was the Give 65 campaign. So we had Nipissing Serenity Hospice on that, and they got some donations through the website. And then they got a lot of in-person donations from our public outreach. And then they were able to do some other great initiatives with the hospice. So we were able to get them on board to support them, and they support local nonprofit organizations. So a lot of really giving back features, which I could talk about all day long. And that's what this is. The Give 65 program for the hospice we did. There was also a Giving Tuesday program. Harriet mentioned right when I started, Be a Santa to a Senior. I'm excited to do that again next year, as well as we've done it for, 13 years now, I think. They're 12 years or 13 years. I always forget. The years just keep going into each other. But we were partnering the last couple of years to do the pandemic with Amazon Business to still be able to get gifts donated to seniors with less contact. But hopefully we'll be able to get more of a in-person approach again to that next holiday season. And so that's where we get gifts donated to older adults and seniors in our community that don't have family. So they get a little gift to open during the holidays. And a lot of times they get it delivered by a volunteer. And so they have that companionship piece too.
Hey, Nikki, did anyone do that in North Bay this year?
Yeah, I had quite a few people support in North Bay. Obviously, you know, we did our best to make Be a Santa to a Senior as safe as possible in the last couple of years with the pandemic. And this opportunity to partner with Amazon Business was huge. And so we had all of our wish lists online this year. So all of the referrals we got from older adults, we made an actual wish list that anybody could click on, buy one gift or all of the gifts, and it got shipped directly to them. And then they could put a little message in the Amazon
Nice.
to say Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, you know, from the Johnson family. And they were able to open that in an Amazon box, right?
If
I
you
always
could
like to,
give
yeah,
us a heads up for that next year. I think I got that message a little late last fall. So, but if we get it early enough, maybe the end of October, we can.
yeah, I
just
usually start
highlight-
planning September. I'm like
Okay,
starting to reach
yeah.
out to organizations, and
Sure.
seniors start calling and they just request items because they don't have family. And there's a lot, unfortunately, that don't have family caregivers to advocate for them. They live alone, they're isolated. And so if there's one thing we can do, I mean, I wish we could do something like this every month, but if we can make them smile, you know, once a year, know that somebody in the community, even though it's like a secret Santa, you know, supports them, is thinking about them, that makes them feel so amazing. And that makes us feel so amazing that we're able to partner with our community and do this. And that's how I started, like on my bio, my journey with HomeInstead. Was I organized or Be a Santa to a Senior program, and I absolutely fell in love with it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and I'm 6 years later, and I'm still here. So I must be doing something right. I wanted to throw Aging in Action on here as well, our Instagram, our Facebook. So we're on Eastlink. Oh, sorry, there's a hand raised. Sorry,
Sorry, I just,
Debbie, I'm so sorry. I told you I can't multitask, okay?
yeah,
it's
sorry, I missed
okay.
that.
It's okay. I just raised it.
Okay.
Before you go on, just on the idea of the secret Santa, maybe if the clients could also have maybe somebody send a little gift or card on their birthday.
Yeah, that'd be so sweet. Having a little birthday gift. Yeah, that would be awesome. I know a lot of referrals we get for Be a Santa. I mean, a lot of times it is older adults referring themselves, but we get a lot of referrals from service organizations that, you know, service seniors, and they know nobody's in their home. For example, Meals on Wheels, right? They're kind of the only people that go into their home to give them something to eat. So they often would refer families, and then they deliver the gift to them for us. When they're bringing their meal, right? So it's just nice to work with other community partners, but that's a really good idea to do something for your birthday, right? Something for Valentine's Day, something for St. Patrick's Day. I mean, there's so many opportunities. And if we all put our heads together and help our community and partner and work together, we're going to make a difference. And that's what I'm always excited to do with the different committees I sit on, you know, reaching out to you guys and learning more about you and organizing and building those relationships. I know it's virtual right now. I'm very much an extrovert. I want to see people. I want to see you in person. I want to come to your meetings. I want to be out in the community. So I'm excited when we're able to do that again, because that community collaboration is absolutely key to make any type of system change. So I wanted to throw this on here. We're on Eastlink TV, which I don't think plays in the Nipissing area. I'm trying to think of the whole scope that they play on, but it's community TV. And then we also take episodes and we share them on our Instagram and our Facebook and our social media and our website. So if you guys want to check it out, go to aginginaction.ca. You'll see all of our episodes that have aired on Eastlink on there, because they air on Eastlink first, and then we air them afterward on our Instagram and even on our Facebook. So please check us out, like us, follow us. If you want to be a potential guest, reach out to me. If you know of somebody that would be a really good guest, reach out to me as well. I'd always like to chat, see who might be really good topic The whole purpose of Aging in Action is to talk about issues affecting us here in the Northern community, start having discussions. Normally we would tape in studio, and we're sitting at a kitchen table because that's where we usually have a lot of big, tough conversations, right? And we want our guests to feel like they're sitting at the table with us and discussing these issues so we can start to make some changes. And we've discussed some pretty taboo subjects there too, right? We've talked about all different kinds of things. So check out our website, see what we're all about. We'd love to hear from you as well if you have guest ideas or want to be a guest yourself. And that's, sorry, what that slide is. So let's put our email on there. I would prefer you just give me a call. I get so many emails. I don't know about the rest of you. I'm having a hard time keeping up sometimes. Give us a call. Let us know what you think. Send us a message on our social media platforms as well. And that pretty much concludes my presentation. How am I doing for time? Okay. I put
You're
all of
perfect.
our phone numbers on there as well, because we service all the way from Sault Ste. Marie to North Bay. And we also service Barrie, Orillia, Midland, and Parry Sound. So we have a big service territory that we cover. So we're always excited to reach out to anybody in those networks, help provide education, support, and services. So I've included our websites on there. I've included my email on there. If you want to reach out to me directly, I'd love to hear from you, follow up conversations, chat with you, network with you. And if you're looking for any type of services, please don't hesitate to reach out. Cassandra, our inquiry specialist, is amazing. She'd love to hear from you. She loves talking with families every day. And I really want to thank every single one of you for listening to our talk today, asking some really great questions, giving me this opportunity. I can't thank you all enough for this information sharing.
Thank you, Nikki. This is awesome. I'm going to ask if you would stop screen sharing, and we'll open to gallery and answer questions. Okay.
There we go.
Perfect. Okay. Any thoughts? Any comments? You can go ahead and unmute if you like.
Everybody's still awake.
Yeah.
I had a question in the chat.
Oh.
Are you able to provide services at present with COVID restrictions right now?
Yeah, we've been servicing throughout the entire pandemic. We're an essential service. Obviously, some more
Okay.
safeguards and things have been in place, right? To make it as safe as possible. But very good question. You guys have definitely, you must have talked about home care. I mean, whether in a personal life or at other presentations, come on board, because you guys really are in the loop, which is nice. It's nice to hear that. Hopefully you've had positive situations in the healthcare system, but it's nice to hear some of these good questions.
I have a comment. It's Roseanne.
Yes, go ahead,
Roseanne.
Roseanne.
It just, you relive things when you've had a parent that you were involved with, who you had trouble navigating the services. But one of the most important things for me that I would stress is be able to get access to financial issues well before a person has dementia, because they get a little bit more, what's that? I had a joint account with my mom for years. And what I did is I printed out all the, if I took money out to get her groceries or do that, I'd give it to her. She got so tired of those. She says, Roseanne, that's fine. Don't give me those anymore. So that trust was there long before she had to worry about it. And it was so much easier having the joint account. Even after death, it was better. I just want to share that.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I think, talking with your family about finances, and that's one of the topics on caregiverstress.com, is an important conversation to have now while your loved one's able to make those decisions and you guys come up with an agreement together, right? That's part of the 40-70 rule too. So I think that's a really great point that you're making.
I agree totally.
Yeah.
I was in a situation where it did, but it's funny, some financial advisors will advise you not to have a joint account. But
Yes.
I think it worked out for me. So it was very important because in the long run.
Have you guys had a presentation with Elder Abuse Ontario?
No.
I would get them on here too. They have some great resources as well. I'm not sure who the local representative is anymore, but they would be really great to have a bit of a discussion on that kind of topic.
Could I make a comment?
Of course you can.
Okay, thank you, Roseanne, for that. That was great information. I am care with my mother as well, and I'm joint on her account. And what I do is I have the monthly statement, and anything that has been purchased is attached to that statement. And at the end of the year, I always get one of my brothers to overlook the whole year,
That's
just to make
smart.
sure that everybody is knows that there's, I'm not taking any money, that everything is clear so that there's no questions when mom does pass away.
Very good.
Yeah. I see a comment on there too. My mother's account was frozen because my dad wasn't joint.
Oh, wow.
Aw.
Oh, gee.
So is that what happens if you don't have somebody on your account? They freeze it? It doesn't
Yes.
go with your will and your power of attorney?
I think it has to be probated, eh? If that's it has to
Believe
go through what do you call it? Am I saying that
Probated.
right? Probate. It has to go through
Mhm.
probate. But I was joined with my mother, and my brother and I were both on the same account. So that was definitely helpful.
If you can get agreement, my aunt won't give me agreement. And I do have power of attorney, so it's getting that enacted. That's the problem right now. So that's where we're at. And she will not give me control of the money, although we've had some good conversations about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I think this has to a little bit for, I find myself sometimes saying, when I get old, well, guess what?
Yeah.
I am there. I'm there.
You're
I'm
funny.
older. But I think it's to get our own plan in place and share it with our kids. If you can get them sitting down and actually listening
And listening to what you want.
to what you want.
This is what I want, and I want you guys to follow this. These are my wishes, right? And not leaving it up to your kids to make the decision because they might not do what you want, right?
we have had a session with advanced care planning,
Perfect.
and it wasn't easy, right? Who was there for that? It wasn't easy, but I'm glad I did it because now I have something written down. We actually did it. We had a presentation and then we sat down and did that. And I don't know if anyone else got a plan in place? Just curious.
Because of that.
Yeah.
I'm working on it.
And I think you have to review it too, right?
Yeah.
You have to review it because things change.
Yeah, I'm hearing this comment too, which is just blowing my mind. He went to a judge to get an order to give it to the bank to gain access. It wouldn't go to probate unless there isn't a will, and there was one. Oh, wow. I guess I better get organized here too. I keep saying, I'm going to do a will. I'm going to do a will. My husband's not on my account. I have a separate one. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't want that to happen. Right. Yeah. No, it's a trust factor too, right? Is once there's two names on the account, then you both have full access to that account. Right. And not everybody's comfortable with that. So what other options are available? It's kind of would be my first question. Because I can understand people being hesitant and wanting to have somebody else on their account, because that's where I would be too, right? But you also don't want to go through all this headache and make your family go through all this headache for nothing, right? When you're just trying to support them and help them age in place as well. So these conversations are so important to happen before you end up in that situation where they can't make decisions anymore, or those are being questioned, right? In their capabilities of making those decisions. You guys are a great group of people. How often do you meet? How do I join?
Well, we're intergenerational, Nikki. We meet 4 days a week.
Wow. So you're
Yeah, we have a guest speaker every day usually. And then
Awesome.
at 10 o'clock, we head out and we for those who are outdoors, we go outdoors or they're online for chair yoga and Zumba.
Zumba.
A Zumba instructor. Yes. Oh, Jill, go ahead, Jill.
Just two questions. I'm probably a little bit older than some of you there. And I certainly have had a plan in place that has all been set out. One issue that I have run into, although I think it's getting resolved now, is engaging my family in my plan. Them not really wanting to face that mom is getting older and she's closer to the end of her life. They don't want to discuss it. Oh, mom, and I had a plan made. They know where it is in my filing cabinet. It's all spelled out. But to get them engaged to go over it with me was a challenge. Now, I've had my son who initiated this year, which was wonderful. I felt so good. But I still have to engage with other family members. And someone did mention it's a good idea to kind of review it every so many years, because things change, things happen, you become more aware of what you need to have in your plan. So that is, once you have it done, it's great to say it's done, and I've had the discussion, but it's equally as important to keep it updated and to keep talking about it with your family so that they really, really are fully aware of what your wishes will be. It was just a comment.
No, and you know what? I think, yeah, it's in this concept of death too, right? That everyone is scared of and they want to avoid the conversation. And if you're getting older, it automatically makes you think of death, right? And that's the ageism conversation too to have, and getting older and being comfortable with that talk, that discussion. Nobody wants, your family clearly loves you and adores you, and but they have to be okay having that conversation with you. They have to, because they need to listen to your wants, your wills, and your wishes, and make sure that they're following through with that. So it's good that you're prepared and you're ready to go. It's the opposite. Now they need to be prepared and they need to support you. I don't know if we have anything on that on the other end of caregiverstress.com, but we do have resources for older adults that are trying to talk to their loved ones. So check it out too, in case there's a section on there as well.
Jill,
Sometimes it goes the other way. So
yeah, Jill, I'm in the same boat too. My kids don't like to talk about it, probably because they just lost their father not that long ago. So they don't want to face, maybe losing mom. So I have a plan. It's not complete, but I want them to know where it is, and I talk about it, and they just go, Mom, like, we don't need to talk about that. But I force it on them. They finally go, oh, okay,
yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to talk about family. Life is so precious, right?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely precious.
And we have to stop because we're heading out for our walk pretty soon. But Nikki, this has been really informative and great questions from the membership. Thank you, everybody. As usual. Great questions. So so you all know how to source Nikki. The video will be up on our website probably by the end of the week. Okay. And Nikki, be our guest again. I really enjoyed your presentation. I'm sure the rest of us did too. So
thank you all so much. Thank you all so much for your time. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and please stay safe.